In this video, we're going to talk about another common loss contingency, that is the litigation contingency. Now, pending litigation is really not unusual. In fact, the majority of medium and large companies use their annual reports. They will report multiple loss contingencies due to litigation. In practice, the accrual of a loss from this pending or ongoing litigation is actually quite rare. While companies may accrue estimated lawyer fees and other legal costs, they usually do not record the loss until after the ultimate settlement has been reached or negotiation of the settlement are substantially completed. Now, while companies should provide extensive disclosure underneath the financial statement of these contingent liabilities, they usually don't want to do it, and they didn't do it in practice. Not until in 2010, the SEC began to pressuring the firms for more complete disclosure of litigation, to include better description of the range of losses that are reasonably possible to occur. And here I attached the JP Morgan Chase Company's 2016 annual report. They have 8 pages of the litigation notes. In it, they follow the SEC rule to disclose the ranges of the litigation loss, possible litigation loss. Even after a firm loses in court, the firm may still not make an accrual. In other words, not report the loss in the financial statements. Why is it? They may appeal to the verdict. Now, this is an example about America's Ameris Bancorp in 2016, and they do not make an accrual, meaning they do not record a loss because they are appealing the verdict. A quick concept check. Think about the 3 situations here. The correct answer for this question is D, $75,000. Only this amount is, number 1, probable, and 2, reasonably estimatable. Now, let's think about a timeline. So previously, we talked about that the fiscal year end and the financial statements issue date may have some time lag. Usually is about 3 months or at best several weeks. Now let's focus on the situation where the cause of this loss contingency happened before the fiscal year end. So there's a lawsuit happened before the fiscal year ends, but at that time you don't know about the possibility or the amount. However, between the fiscal year and the financial statement issue dates, you have a subsequent event that helps you clarify the possibility, as well as they help you know the estimated amount. If this subsequent event tells you that it's probable and the amount is reasonably estimatable, you should record this amount in this year's financial statements. So this is an example of the lawsuit after Starbucks on September 2013 balance sheet. So the fiscal year end date for Starbucks is September 29, and this is the note we got from the 2013 financial statements. And in this note, it tells you that the lawsuit began in 2010. Eventually, in 2013, after the fiscal year end, November 12th, the arbitrator ordered Starbucks to pay Kraft $27.5 million. So Starbucks also estimated prejudgment interest, including the accrual of the estimated payment date, as well as the attorney fee to be an addition $556.6 million. So it satisfied the situation we drew in the timeline. even though that it is after the fiscal year end of 2013, we have a subsequent event on November 12th. And in this event, it tells us that number one is probable. And number two, we have the number, the amount. So Starbucks, as a result, they record a litigation charge. So they put the number in their balance sheet as a liability. A concept track here for the subsequent event. You can pause here and do it yourself. The answer is C, $60,000. We're gonna use this information in the subsequent event to determine the actual amount that you're gonna include in the 2021 financial statements. How about the other situation when the cause of the loss contingency happened after the fiscal year end? In this case, we don't care whether the subsequent event happened before before the financial statement issue date or after the financial statements issue date, as long as the litigation, the lawsuit happened after the fiscal year end. You just need to disclose it. You don't need to write it in your financial statement. No need to accrue it. Here is a disclosure of Coca-Cola's 2016 annual report. They told you about what happened in the first quarter of 2016. This is the report of 2016. And then they tell you about the first quarter of 2017. What happened? Disclosure, not accrual. Now, let's talk about something, further. When you are aware of a potential claim and this claim has not yet been made, we call it unasserted claim. How are we going to treat this? This may or may not require disclosure of a contingency liability. So for sure, we first need to apply a two-step process to think about this contingency liability. Number one, we need to think about whether this asserted claim is probable or not. If it is not, then forget about it. We don't need to do anything. If yes, then go to step two. In step two, we apply the previous rules. We kind of evaluate, number one, the likelihood of this unfavorable outcome, and B, whether the dollar amount of the loss can be estimated, right? Here is a Union Pacific conclusion in some of the unasserted claims in 2016. Now, finally, a comparison of the loss contingency treatment between US GAAP and IFRS. Now, in summary, there's not a conclusive summary about which one is more lenient. They have different aspects. For example, in US GAAP, when they define probable, they have a higher threshold, but IFRS have a lower threshold. However, when they disclose about the number, the amount, in US GAAP, they use the lowest estimation of the range. However, in IFRS, they use the midpoint. So this one is more, conservative, that leads to more losses, right? Now, this comparison is not gonna be included in the exam, but you may have it in the future application. So I posted here. Finally, we have talked about all the outlines, and this is it for this week. Hope you learned and enjoyed.